Update. My entitled friends invited their male friend and demanded he pay for our entire group, then just. First story. Golden Child's sister suddenly wants to get married after my boyfriend proposed to me, then demanded my wedding venue as the venue would be a waste on my wedding anyways. Then my entitled parents, who didn't even bother to show up at my engagement, demand I give it to her, so I uninvited them. I can admit that my viewpoint is pretty one-sided, but my actions have divided my family, so I figured I could get some outside perspective. My sister and I don't get along. I can be honest and admit that she's much prettier than me, and that's something she has never let me forget. Both of my parents are pretty shallow, and they've always given her the best and put her first. If we both had a school event at the same time, they'd both go to hers. This has left me pretty bitter and distant from my family. My boyfriend of 5 years recently proposed, and I was super over the moon and straight out of a bad rom-com script. My sister got engaged right afterwards. It didn't really faze me other than serve as a slight nuisance since my parents were more happy and involved with her engagement. My mom's been helping her plan but couldn't help me because my sister needed more help, and she couldn't devote me the time I deserved. Don't feel bad for me, though, because my Mill is a godsend, super sweet, and genuinely treats me with so much love. Anyway, what really pushed me over the edge was when my sister told me that she had booked her wedding at my dream venue. I know it sounds so annoying and cheesy, but I really cared about this location. It was sentimental to me. My grandparents got married there, and I talked about wanting to get married there as far back as high school when I was just daydreaming. My sister doesn't give an F about my grandparents, but when I brought it up, my parents told me to stop being so petty. In a fit of actual pettiness, I ended up booking the same venue a month before my sister's wedding. I checked with the venue, and there's no way my sister can move the wedding up. They're booked up, and if she changes venues, she'll lose her deposit. My mother recently reached out to me and implored me to talk to my sister. I blocked her after the first call where she tried to ream me out. Apparently, my sister is really distraught, and my mom said the least I could do was try and work something out with her, especially over such a huge event. I said no, but my mom said I was a JRK for not even trying to hear her out and for being so stubborn and petty. I know my mom is biased, but it got me thinking because I've been pretty staunch about ignoring her calls, and some of my cousins have told me that she seems genuinely upset. I'm not sure whether or not I was right or if I am being a giant JRK by being so stubborn. Edit. I do want to add that I'm wondering if I'm being the JRK for ignoring my sister, not really for booking the venue. My sister flat out told my cousin that she couldn't care less about the venue and booked it because it was convenient, but suddenly, when I want to get married there too, it means the world to her. I think not. My grandparents practically raised me since my parents were always missing out on my life events, so it was Grandma and Grandpa who came to support me. I was always going to get married there one way or another. Added 2. Hi, I wanted to share an update on this and have been kind enough to ask. I don't know who will see this or how it works, but I'll copy and paste just in case. I appreciate everyone who took the time to comment. Both the positive and negative comments opened my eyes. I spent my entire life being bullied by my family, and when I had comments from internet strangers rolling in, trying to make excuses and defend my sister for trying to make my wedding planning all about her, I realized that I would never win in the sense of doing the right thing. I talked it over with my fiancé, and he basically said, "You're literally never happy when you talk about your family, why do you keep putting yourself through that?" So I decided to try talking to them one last time before going NC, just so I wouldn't have any regrets. Most of you could probably guess what happened. My sister said that if I got married at the same venue as her, I'd steal her thunder and that I was selfish for making my own wedding all about me. I countered with the fact that I've been talking about getting married here for over a decade, so why would she think I wouldn't get married there too? Only for my sister to reply that the venue would be a waste on me because there was no way I could ever plan a wedding as beautiful as hers. Like, WTF? The final straw was when my parents offered to pay for my entire wedding if I moved. My parents, who couldn't be bothered to show up to my engagement party because my sister planned hers for the next day and they'd need time to help her prep, suddenly wanted to pay tens of thousands of dollars just to make my sister happy. I think that kind of broke me. Long story short, I told them that I was done being their punching bag and that they were no longer welcome at my wedding or in my life. They tried to play the sympathy card on social media, crying about how I divided the family, but my grandparents really came to bat for me. They basically made their own post shading my mom, their daughter, saying that they were so thrilled to see their granddaughter, whom they raised, get married at their venue, and that my grandpa would be walking me down the aisle. That pretty much shut up most of my extended family. My cousin also let me know that my sister gave up her deposit in favor of changing the venue, which made me feel like it was proof that it was never about the venue and just about taking something that mattered to me. I wouldn't have cared if we married at the same place, though. I feel like I made the right decision because I've just felt so much lighter since. My fiancé is also happy that I'm doing better. Second story. My entitled friends invited their male friend and demanded he pay for our entire group, then just abandoned me and him at the restaurant, knowing he didn't have enough money. Then they blamed me for not abandoning him like they do. Even my dad took their side, so I cut ties with them and found a new friend. I, 20F, have been friends with these two girls, Charlie, 20F, and Alex, 19F, since middle school. We get along like fangirls over the same anime, K-pop bands, artists, etc. One day, we decided to go to our favorite spot, Chili's. We always separate the bill, and there are no issues. However, Alex decided they wanted to invite a male friend, John, 18, which was fine with all of us. The food was good as usual. Then the server asked for a split or a check. Usually, Charlie says it's separate every time we go out and eat. This time, she said, all one. I thought she was just feeling generous that day, but then they started giving John shit-eating grins. Charlie said, John, you're paying for us all. Just to be clear, John said, what? With visible confusion on his face. Alex and Charlie giggled, got up, and left. They signaled for me to go as well, but I was just as confused as John was. What just happened? John and I sat there awkwardly. The check came to $125, and I told the server to give us a moment to provide payment. I only had enough for me, $30, and John only had enough for him, $40. Charlie texted in our group chat asking if I was coming with them. I told them, what are you doing? Then they went on some BS that John should want to impress us and that it's a man's role to treat people like princesses or some BS. I thought they were joking, but they were dead serious. Upon going outside to physically confront them, they were serious because they left me and John with no ride in the tab. I asked my dad if he could spare me $60 and that he could just cut off my allowance for 2 weeks. I explained the situation, but he agreed with Alex and Charlie and said that this is John's problem now, not mine. It was like a scene out of a movie, and I was in complete disbelief. I explained the situation to the server, who was super cool and said if we can't produce the payment now, I could just leave a number, and they can charge me tomorrow. Out of one last-ditch effort, I called my uncle for the money, and he immediately understood and sent me the money. He even said he would be there to pick me and John up. I paid the tab and apologized heavily to John about the entire situation, but he was actually really chill and super grateful for what I was doing because he only had $40 from his birthday money and decided to spend it with his friends. I got a text from Alex in the group chat asking if John paid for the tab. I said no, I did, and she got mad at me. Then my dad asked what had happened. I told him the truth that his brother paid for the tab, and he got mad at me. Do I live in the Twilight Zone? Am I crazy for not wanting to ruin a friend's life over Chili's? Anyway, after Alex said, I'm just not going to invite guys to our plans anymore, I left the group chat and blocked both Alex and Charlie. John also cut ties with him, and we have started talking more and more, and we sometimes play Fortnite together. Anyway, the moral of the story, you think you know someone. Relevant comments, Jimmy W., the 982, your friends and your dad are completely arseholes. John was under no obligation to pay for anyone but himself. To assume he is going to pay for everyone is just beyond me. I'm glad you had the class to stay and help with the bill. I would have told the waitress to split it 4 ways after those 2 adults walked in, then give the restaurant their information so they can be responsible for their own meals. Opie, I was considering many options, but my main thing was that I didn't want to make a giant scene in front of someone I don't even know. Easier options first, then harder ones. In reality, this probably would have been the smarter option. Affectionate Encore Salt 351, I don't blame you. In the heat of the moment, I would have done the same as you. I don't know if you've just spent a lot of time with your uncle or what, but I'm happy his sense of morality rubbed off on you instead of your father's. Yikes, you're not wrong. This is definitely some Twilight Zone SHT. Unfortunately, people can always surprise you with things like this. I'm still learning more about others like this in my 30s. Good for you and John for becoming friends, he sounds like a good egg too. My uncle said, and I quote, while he was driving us back home, he can treat me like SHT all he wants, but when he starts treating you guys like SHT, I have no choice but to get involved. Xander 87, your ex-friends are idiots and are on the road to a rude awakening because they think guys will put up with that kind of CRP. You were right to cut them out. Your dad is a tool. How old is your dad? Because that's some boomer level thinking right there on his part. It would have been one thing if the guy had invited you all out and offered to pay, then reneged on that promise, but that's not what happened. This was sprung on him unexpectedly, so your dad is way off the mark with this. I'm glad you at least found a replacement friend for the 2 idiots, and your uncle is a real one. The next chance you're able, you should do something nice for him as a thank you for helping. Maybe treat him to lunch or bring him a favorite sweet, nothing big, just something to show your appreciation for coming to your rescue like that when he didn't have to. My dad's in his late 40s, and he said, "It's not your problem, my name, so why the hell should it be mine?" Not to throw him under the bus, but he has a huge crush on a particular man who is orange. Added edits to answer repeated questions. Edit: I should probably emphasize that me and JN didn't even know each other before this happened. Second edit: yes, I'm 20 and still get a $50 weekly allowance. I am actively looking for work. Some of you guys are antagonizing my dad but yet want to act like mine for not working. Third edit: people are asking why I didn't just pay for my own tab, give them my friends' numbers or addresses, and call the police. Yaudet, is that what I should have done? 100%. But I felt like JN was already visibly stressed about the situation, and I didn't want to escalate it to potentially more stress. I was thinking about John's well-being above everything, and having someone else cover the rest of the money was the easiest solution for me. Probably not the right one, but it was the easiest for me and John. Updates next day, same post. Update: me and John still play Fortnite and have been dabbling in Overwatch as well. He's actually a very funny guy who is open about his feelings. If we continue to connect, I may ask him for a proper date. Through some casual friends, I learned that Alex and Charlie think I'm overreacting and have the same BS as before. JN should have wanted to impress us, and JN should have had more money knowing he was going out to eat with 3 girls. Shocker. Third story. The saga of Op who divorced her husband after he confessed cheating on her after they had a child and lost her business. Knowing she couldn't leave him, he forced her to agree to an open marriage and brought his affair partner to his bedroom. So she studied, got a job, bought an apartment, and divorced him. Now he is begging to reconcile, saying he will end things with his affair. I want to share my happiness with you. I landed my dream job and apartment, and I can finally leave my cheating husband. Husband, 39, and I, 35, met 10 years ago. He was, until last year, the love of my life. He was my rock and I was his. We shared the same interests, humor, and views. We were also childless. I owned a little sandwich shop that was fairly popular near huge office buildings. I loved my job, and I was so content. I made a good living. My husband is an engineer. When COVID hit and people started working from home, my business went down pretty quickly, and by the fall of 2020, I had to close for good. I still did some catering gigs, but not enough to have a decent source of income. My husband said that I shouldn't be worried because he could support both of us. I went back to college for HR management, a 3-year program. Around the same time as all that happened, my husband confessed to me that he might have changed his mind about being childless, something that I had noticed before he confessed. I loved my husband very much, and I had started noticing him around friends and family members who have small children. He was so adorable, and to be honest, without my very hectic job, I also started thinking the same. We had our son in November of last year. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. But just 3 weeks after I gave birth, my husband came to me and confessed that he cheated on me. It felt like the ground opened from under me. How could that be possible? He was my love, and I was his. Wasn't I? He apologized and tried to blame it on the pandemic, on being bored at home, on being scared to be a father, on the midlife crisis. He loved me, and he didn't want to lose me. I felt so trapped with a small baby that needed me, no job, and no place to go. Good job, hubby, you sure knew when to deliver this BLW. A week later, he asked me what I thought about opening the marriage. Humans aren't meant to stay monogamous, and while he still loved me more than anything in the world, he didn't find me enough. I started crying, and I begged him not to hate me. If he just gave me some time, we could divorce and go our separate ways. He said he wasn't interested in divorce. He didn't want to replace me, just add some new excitement to our relationship. 2 weeks later, he came home with her and told me that she was moving in with us, a 26-year-old that he met at work. He started showing her the apartment and explained how important it was for me to have everything clean and tidy all the time, and that she should abide by that. She was smiling the whole time. He took her to the guest bedroom. She's been living with us ever since. I moved to my son's room and put locks on, and I've been living with my baby for almost a year now. I rarely exist in the common areas, aside from preparing for my catering gigs. The GF eventually moved into my bedroom with my husband. He warned me that this would happen if I refused to move back. Funny how we can adjust so fast and find small pleasures even in the most difficult times. Having my baby and seeing him grow has been my biggest comfort, along with my studies. After a few months, my husband gave up trying to talk to me outside of matters concerning our son. He finally realized neither fighting, tantrums, nor love bombing worked on me. And most importantly, he stopped trying to get intimate with me, aside from the occasional I love you or I miss you text, and sometimes a text while he's literally on the other side of the wall. His girlfriend kept her distance from me, and I was thankful for that. She moved out a few times after they would fight. I don't know the details, but I would guess that she wanted exclusivity. Oh, The irony. She always showed up again after a couple of days. I acted like I didn't notice any of it. I have 1 year left of my studies, but after my internship practicing semester at a big firm, my boss offered me a paid internship. It's a full-time job starting in January. It would mean working and studying full-time, but I know that I will manage. I'm just so happy. This means that I now have the means to find my own place, and I did. I'm moving into a small studio, 32 square meters, on November 1st. I will have to break the news eventually to my husband that I'm moving out and filing for divorce. I don't want to tell him right now, but once I start packing, he will probably understand anyway. I don't know what his reaction will be. He might be relieved, but somehow I doubt it. Right now, he thinks I'm bound to him for at least another year because of my studies, and he's still acting like I'm his wife. I have been so lucky thus far, and hopefully my moving out and divorce won't be any different. I haven't been this happy in many months, and I wanted to share it somewhere since nobody in my surroundings knows what I have gone through. Update. I got my apartment. I moved out and left my husband and his girlfriend. I'm free. Gosh, I don't even know where to start. Maybe, thank you for supporting me on my last post. Besides the few worthless "why don't you just leave" comments. I just wanted to vent and share my story, but many of you have requested an update after I have moved. I got the keys to my little apartment 2 weeks ago because the previous tenant moved out earlier. I was grateful because I wanted to paint the room and do some makeovers. I talked to the landlady and ended up telling her my whole story. LOL. She promised me the next 2 bedrooms that became available. When I got the keys, I felt that I could finally breathe. I'm not on good terms with my family, but I ended up telling them what's been going on in my life this past year, and my friends too. I don't know why I kept this a secret for so long. Maybe because I was too ashamed or embarrassed, or maybe because I had a definite plan and didn't want outside influence or distraction. I didn't want my best friend to feel obligated to host me. I didn't want my sister to ask if I could forgive him or my in-laws to try and change his mind. So, the best thing I knew was to keep quiet and act like everything was normal. I moved last Friday. I had packed all my kitchen gear, my sons and my clothes, toys, etc., while my husband was at work. My best friend and her husband helped me. I didn't take any of the furniture because I thought it could wait until we divorced and I requested a division of property. I have no room for anything in my little apartment anyway. When my husband came home, I told him that I was leaving. He was confused at first, but I told him about my new apartment. So, he asked me how I was going to afford it. His facial expression changed, and he looked scared. He started telling me how he has been regretting all of what he did. He loved me and missed me. He knew that he messed up and has been thinking that this wasn't what he wanted. He wanted his family back, our son and me. He asked me if I wanted my baby not to have his parents together, and he said that he was leaving his girlfriend and she would be moving out, and it could be the 2 of us again. His girlfriend started fighting with him, and I just left. He has now been calling me asking to see us. I still want a decent co-parenting relationship with him, so he took our son on Sunday to his parents to spend time with him. This is the first time I've been without my son for a whole day. I cried the entire time. I need to get used to this. My in-laws apologized for what my husband did. I think they think this is going to pass, and we will be back together. I think everybody thinks that, besides my best friend. I won't try to convince them. Let time tell them instead. My feelings are letting me down now. After all he did, I still love him with all my heart, and I miss him, his kisses, his eyes, and the way he looks at and touches me. How weird is that? I don't know if this is good or bad. I don't know if these feelings will disappear or what they will be replaced with. Hate? Is harboring hate for a man I'm bound to for at least 17 more years something good? Maybe I should use my love for him to create a better co-parenting relationship. Maybe I should not stop loving him and just find a new meaning for this love. Our son is so much like him, especially his smile. It makes it even harder not to think about or miss him. This past year, I have not had time to reflect on my feelings. I've done a great job being matter-of-fact and suppressing my feelings. But now that I'm on my own in my own apartment, I can finally cry and mourn the love that we lost. The weirdest thing is that I really believe that he still loves me too, in his own weird way. I don't think he ever stopped loving me. I have watched him with his girlfriend for a year now. It's never like how he was with me when we were happy. The only times I could see his old loving self was when he looked at our son or at me when he thought I couldn't see him. When I think of this, I cry even more because what a waste of a beautiful relationship, and for what? My son's birthday is in a few days. I feel so guilty, but I will not be celebrating it with my husband. My son is still too young to remember, so I won't be hurting him. Hopefully, when he is older, my husband and I will be on better terms so we can celebrate him together. But for now, I'm doing a party with my family and friends, and my husband can do a party for him if he wants. I just wanted to say something before I leave. Last time, many accused me of being too dependent, letting my husband take care of me and our son. I thought this was how life, love, and partnership were supposed to be. I had a very respectable business, and I loved my job. I was happy and content. I had a loving and supportive husband. We bought our beautiful place and renovated it from scratch with our hard-earned money. I never foresaw the pandemic and how business would suffer. My life would be turned upside down. When it did, I thought I could rely on my husband because that's what people are supposed to do. If the roles were reversed, I would gladly have supported him until he got on his feet again because, in the long run, the whole family would reap the benefits. So no, I wasn't dependent. I thought I had a good safety net. If you still don't understand that people, no matter where they are in life, could fall and need to start over, expect their loved ones to support them or at least not take advantage of them. If you still don't understand that this doesn't mean that they're weak, then there's nothing more I could say to explain myself, so I'll leave it at that. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you.